Okay, we should be safe here for another 15 minutes or so. Once we've rested, get ready to run.
Boss, I was thinking, shouldn't we be looking for the rest of the crew?
Normally I would say yes. However, we don't know where we are at the moment, nor can we contact anyone right now. Our best bet is to find an exit and come back with a plan to fight whatever this thing is.
I was thinking about that too, boss. Doesn't this place seem familiar to you?
What do you... Actually, now that you mention it, this whole place does seem familiar to me, but I can't remember where. Oh crap, quick, hide! Greetings, travelers. I'm your host, the C-Dot that knows a lot, Dr. Waluigi. One of the many film genres that I find gets way too much hate is the disaster film genre. Sure, there have been a lot of bad films to come out of that genre, but there are some good examples as well. One of those being a film where James Bond teams up with Sarah Connor in order to escape an erupting volcano. This is Dante's Peak. While I don't necessarily think that this was a bad thing, the 90s was a hodgepodge of different popular films that were basically made with the idea of throwing something at the wall and seeing what would stick. In the later half of the 90s, one of those ideas were the natural disaster films. Now, one of the important things to note is that this wasn't the only era where that genre was popular. In the late 60s and early 70s, disaster films were just as popular, with examples being The Towering Inferno and The Poseidon Adventure. Because those films were box office gold, filmmakers were tempted to try again in the 90s with mixed results. In the case of Dante's Peak, the film was directed by Roger Donaldson, who was also known for directing the first and successful horror franchise, Species. The film took over a year to make and was a financial success, making $178 million at the box office against its initial $116 million budget. Unfortunately, this film, along with others of the genre, received mixed reviews from critics, saying that the film's characters were boring and the special effects were the only good reason to see the film. However, I feel that now, with the time going by and the return of movies like Sharknado, most people are now starting to see that maybe these films weren't as bad as they were when they came out. Following the aftermath of his dead wife, volcanologist Harry Dalton, played by Pierce Brosnan, is sent to look at a dormant volcano in the town of Dante's Peak. He meets up with the mayor of the town, played by Linda Hamilton, and sees that the volcano is still dormant. However, he starts to notice strange things that are happening around the volcano. Could it be that the volcano is starting to wake up? And what kind of damage will it do if the volcano does indeed wake up? The cast of this movie is both the best and the worst part of the movie. On the one hand, you have Pierce Brosnan and his team of geologists and volcanologists, Jesus, that word is fucking hard to say, who are likable and do their job properly. However, the rest of the cast, excluding Linda Hamilton's character, are very generic and have no character outside of their stereotype. It does make the movie's cast easier to follow, but it makes them forgettable and bland, which is okay for some movies like Jaws and Volcano, but for a movie like this, I feel like adding some more memorable character traits would have improved on the movie. I will say that for a movie that came out in the late 90s, I was surprised to find that they used a lot of practical effects for the movie. Most of the movie shows the slow process of when a volcano is going to erupt, and the filmmakers decided to use a lot of practical effects to showcase the damage that can happen when a volcano does erupt. This impresses me because of the release of Jurassic Park and Titanic, most of the films were using more and more CGI, which began the decline of the practical effects. Another positive is the accurate portrayal of what happens when a volcano is about to erupt. While not all of the information they used in the film is 100% accurate, the filmmakers still took time to research the effects of having a volcano erupt. Even professors of the U.S. Geological Survey use this movie as an example in most college-level science classes because of how close this film gets to the volcanic eruptions. The main problem with the movie is that the special effects are very lacking. Most of the special effects that this movie uses are only seen at the beginning with another volcano already erupting, and at the mid-last third of the movie. While I like films that use practical effects and CGI in the same movie, I noticed that the only time where the film's effects get to shine is when the volcano has already erupted, and the rest of the movie is just a waiting game for the stupid thing to wake up and kill some people. This movie isn't as well made as the other disaster movies. Unlike the Poseidon Adventure or Volcano, those movies had a greater emphasis of the characters as well as the disaster, unlike this film where it only focuses on the devastation of the disaster. But I feel like if you want to see a more realistic disaster film, this is the one I would recommend. I give this movie a 6 out of 10. Not the most interesting, but still a film worth checking out. Well, thanks for watching. I'm Dr. Waluigi, and remember, don't judge a book by its cover, 'cause you'll never know what's inside. Good night, everyone! Alright, get ready to run. I'll distract it while you try to get out of here.
But boss,
Don't argue with me. Your lives are much more important than mine, so do as I say.
yes, boss.
Oh, sound attack. Gah! What the? Come on, chaps.